Did you know that under the UK's new immigration law, millions could face deportation in just a few years? In 2025, changes to immigration policies are set to uproot lives, break apart families, and put vulnerable communities at risk. Imagine being forced to leave the only home you've known, without warning or the chance to fight back. With laws that could send undocumented immigrants, students, and even long-time workers packing, the consequences are severe. How will this law affect you, your loved ones, or the people you know? What's really at stake when deportation first becomes the new standard? The truth is, these laws might be more far-reaching than you ever imagined. Number 10. Stricter family reunification rules. The stricter family reunification rules, under the new immigration law, represent another significant change, with far-reaching consequences for immigrants in the UK. The updated regulations now impose much tougher conditions for individuals seeking to bring their families to the UK, making it more difficult for those who are separated from their loved ones to reunite. These rules require individuals to meet stringent financial thresholds, demonstrate adequate housing, and meet other requirements that many immigrants may find difficult to fulfill. This could leave families divided, with members forced to live in different countries for extended periods, unable to join each other in the UK despite long-term separation. For those already living in the UK, the new rules may lead to emotional strain as they are forced to navigate a complex and often bureaucratic process to bring family members over. This can particularly affect individuals who have already established lives, careers, and homes in the UK, only to face barriers when attempting to bring their spouses, children, or other relatives to join them. The emotional toll of being separated from loved ones for years, or even indefinitely, can be devastating. Parents could miss out on important milestones in their children's lives, and children could grow up without the comfort and guidance of their parents. Furthermore, the impact of these tougher family reunification rules extends beyond just the individuals involved. Entire communities may face disruption as families are separated, resulting in increased stress, mental health challenges, and social isolation. Immigrants who are unable to reunite with their families may struggle to integrate fully into UK society, feeling disconnected from their roots and missing the emotional support that family provides. The stricter regulations may also exacerbate existing inequalities, as wealthier immigrants who can meet the financial thresholds will have an easier time bringing their families over, while poorer individuals will be left with limited options. This polarization can further divide communities and create a sense of injustice among those who are unable to reunite with their loved ones. Number 9. Exclusion from welfare benefits for immigrants. The exclusion from welfare benefits is another critical aspect of the new UK immigration law that could have severe implications for vulnerable immigrant communities. Under this law, immigrants will face stricter restrictions on accessing social services, healthcare, and other welfare benefits. The goal of this policy is to reduce public spending by limiting the access of non-citizens to state resources. But for those living in the UK without full legal status, this means losing access to essential support systems. Immigrants who are already struggling financially or who are experiencing difficult circumstances will be left without the help they need, intensifying their vulnerabilities. For many low-income immigrants, the denial of welfare benefits could create a cycle of poverty that is nearly impossible to escape. Families who depend on these services to cover basic needs like food, housing, and healthcare could face severe hardship. Without these essential resources, the well-being of children, the elderly, and other at-risk groups could be jeopardized. Families already in financial distress may be forced to choose between paying rent, purchasing food, or paying for medical care, further exacerbating the struggles they face. Additionally, denying welfare benefits to immigrants will likely lead to an increase in social isolation and discrimination, as communities that are already marginalized will bear the brunt of these cuts. This policy could also lead to public health crises. Immigrants, particularly those who are undocumented, may avoid seeking necessary medical treatment for fear of being discovered and deported. The lack of affordable healthcare could result in untreated health issues, which in the long run could worsen the overall public health situation. Mental health will also be significantly impacted, as individuals and families live with the constant stress of survival without the support they once had access to. This policy creates a vicious cycle that not only harms individuals, but also strains the UK's healthcare and emergency services by increasing demand for services without the corresponding ability to pay. The exclusion from welfare benefits ultimately punishes those who are most in need of assistance, creating deeper divides within society. Number 8. The Public Safety Clause. The Public Safety Clause, introduced in the new immigration laws, provides the UK government with the authority to deport individuals deemed a threat to national security or public order. This law grants broad powers to authorities, allowing them to remove individuals from the UK even if they have committed no serious crime or may not pose an immediate danger. The clause's vague language means that it can be applied to a wide range of circumstances, leaving room for broad interpretation. As a result, individuals can be deported without clear evidence of wrongdoing or proper legal proceedings, simply because they are deemed a threat based on national security or public safety concerns. For many immigrants, this clause raises serious concerns about due process and human rights violations. The potential for abuse is high, as authorities can use this power to deport individuals based on their political views, affiliations, or even personal opinions, without offering a clear or fair chance for legal defense. This could disproportionately affect minority communities, who may already face discrimination based on their ethnicity or cultural background. The lack of clear boundaries for what constitutes a threat leaves the door open for racial profiling and the unjust removal of people who have been living peacefully in the UK for years. The public safety justification also creates an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty, where immigrants may feel that they are constantly under scrutiny. People living with this constant threat may be hesitant to seek help from law enforcement or report crimes, out of fear that their status will be discovered and they could be deported. It could also encourage the stereotyping of immigrants as potential criminals or security risks, further dividing communities and increasing social tensions. Ultimately, the Public Safety Clause could undermine the trust between immigrants and the authorities, making it harder for individuals to integrate into society and for the government to build supportive, diverse communities. The clause, while aiming to protect national security, could have dangerous consequences for those living in the UK without proper legal protections. Number 7. New work visa restrictions. The new work visa restrictions under the updated UK immigration law introduce significant challenges for immigrants hoping to work in the country. The new laws make it more difficult for individuals to obtain or renew their work visas, particularly those in lower skilled sectors. Immigrants who overstay their work visas or violate terms, even unintentionally, could face immediate deportation. This shift in policy has far-reaching implications for people who have established careers, built families, and contributed to the UK economy. The stricter conditions will particularly affect those in industries that rely heavily on migrant labour, such as healthcare, construction, and hospitality. The government's increased scrutiny of work visas means workers could be sent back to their home countries with little warning or opportunity to rectify their situation. For many workers, these new regulations will increase the pressure to ensure that their visa status remains perfectly compliant at all times. Small mistakes or lapses could lead to swift consequences, leaving individuals in legal uncertainty and potentially without access to work or income. This creates a climate of fear where workers may be afraid to report issues in their workplace or seek legal help for fear of exposing their immigration status. The heightened risk of deportation may discourage migrants from seeking better opportunities or even remaining in their current jobs, as they could be forced to leave the UK abruptly if they are found to be in violation of their visa term. Additionally, the more stringent work visa rules could harm the UK economy, particularly in industries that depend on a diverse workforce. Migrant workers often fill gaps in the labour market that local workers are unwilling to take on, especially in low-wage jobs. The tighter restrictions could lead to labour shortages, making it more difficult for businesses to operate effectively. This could have ripple effects on productivity and services, ultimately impacting the country's overall economic growth. The new work visa restrictions thus represent not only a challenge for immigrants, but also a potential threat to industries that rely on foreign workers to thrive. Number 6. Extended immigration detention. The extension of immigration detention powers is another critical component of the new UK immigration laws. Under the revised policy, individuals who are facing deportation will now be detained for longer periods before they are actually deported. This extended detention can cause significant emotional, psychological, and financial distress for individuals, as they are held in uncertain and often overcrowded conditions. For many detainees, the experience of being in detention can feel like an indefinite sentence, as they are often left in limbo while waiting for their case to be processed. The inability to make any concrete plans for their future can be overwhelming, and the conditions in some detention centres have been widely criticized for being inhumane and degrading. One of the major issues with prolonged detention is its impact on mental health. Individuals who are held in immigration detention for extended periods face the risk of developing anxiety, depression, and trauma due to the prolonged uncertainty about their future. The lack of proper legal representation or access to resources during detention only exacerbates the situation, leaving detainees feeling powerless and isolated. For many, the prolonged experience of detention can lead to severe psychological strain, making it more difficult for them to navigate their deportation process and reintegrate into society once they are released. In addition to the emotional and mental toll, the extended detention period also has a significant financial impact. Many detainees may be unable to work while detained, resulting in a loss of income and the potential for financial hardship once they are deported. Families who rely on the detainees' earnings may face extreme financial instability during this time. The cost of maintaining these detention facilities, which are often criticized for being overburdened and underfunded, also raises questions about the effectiveness of this policy. Critics argue that the resources spent on extended detention could be better utilized in alternative approaches that provide humane treatment for detainees, while still ensuring the deportation process is carried out efficiently. The extension of immigration detention powers highlights the growing crackdown on immigration in the UK, with significant consequences for those caught in the system. Number 5. The ban on re-entry for deportees. The ban on re-entry for deportees is one of the most severe measures under the new immigration law. Individuals who are deported from the UK will now face a ban on returning for up to 10 years. A significant increase compared to previous policies that allowed quicker re-entry after deportation. This extended ban is designed to deter those who might attempt to return to the UK illegally after being deported. However, the consequences of this policy extend far beyond its intended purpose of controlling immigration. For many deportees, this 10-year ban means a long-term severance from the life they have built in the UK, including their homes, jobs, and families. The impact on families, particularly those with children who are British citizens, could be profound. Parents who are deported may find themselves unable to reunite with their children for an entire decade, leading to heartbreak and emotional trauma for both parents and children. This policy risks creating generational divides, where children grow up without a parent, or parents are forced to miss critical milestones in their children's lives. In some cases, the individuals deported may have lived in the UK for years, if not decades, and established deep social and professional connections. The ban on re-entry essentially ensures that these deportees are permanently severed from their established life, even if their deportation was a result of minor infractions or bureaucratic mistake. For individuals who have built careers and businesses in the UK, the ban on re-entry can feel like a life sentence. People who have contributed to the UK economy may find themselves barred from pursuing future opportunities in the country. In the long run, this policy could lead to a brain drain, where highly skilled workers and professionals are forced to rebuild their lives in other countries away from the UK. The ban not only affects deportees, but also their extended families and communities, who may lose vital connections and support networks. This policy, while designed to limit re-entry, could have unintended consequences. Number 4. Enhanced border control and surveillance measures. One of the most notable changes under the new immigration laws is the enhanced border control and surveillance measures being implemented across the UK. The government plans to introduce more sophisticated technologies and monitoring systems designed to detect illegal immigrants more efficiently. These advancements include AI-powered tracking systems, biometric scanning, and increased use of facial recognition technology at entry points. While these measures are intended to improve national security, they also pose significant challenges to migrants and individuals without proper documentation. With the expansion of border control technologies, the ability to track, identify, and detain individuals who are in the UK illegally will become far more efficient, increasing the likelihood of deportation. For migrants, this means a heightened risk of being detected and removed from the country. Those who have been living in the UK for years may find themselves at greater risk as authorities gain access to more precise data to monitor their movements. This level of surveillance could lead to a more restrictive environment, where even those who have established lives, families, and careers in the UK may be apprehended if they do not meet the exact requirements of their immigration status. The enhanced surveillance could also contribute to a feeling of being constantly under scrutiny, leading to a sense of insecurity and fear among immigrant communities. While these border control improvements might appear effective from a security standpoint, they raise serious concerns about privacy rights and the potential for racial profiling. Increased surveillance can disproportionately affect individuals from marginalized communities who may already be subjected to unfair treatment based on their appearance or background. The constant monitoring of individuals' movements may create a chilling effect, discouraging people from seeking medical care, legal support, or reporting crimes for fear that their status will be discovered. This could result in human rights violations if the technology is not used responsibly and transparently. Ultimately, the use of these technologies will force a difficult balance between national security and the protection of individual freedoms. Number 3. Stricter student visa conditions. The new restrictions on student visas represent a significant change for international students coming to the UK. Under the updated law, students who violate the terms of their visa, even minor infractions, could now face immediate deportation without the option to appeal. This is a sharp departure from previous regulations, which allowed more time and opportunity for students to address issues related to their visa status. The potential for swift deportation means that students could find themselves expelled from the country and separated from their studies, even if they have valid reasons for their violations. The pressure on students to maintain perfect compliance with all visa rules increases dramatically, as a single mistake could result in their immediate removal. Moreover, many international students in the UK contribute to the economy, not only through their tuition fees, but also through part-time work in various sectors. These students often establish important connections, gain valuable work experience, and enhance the diversity of the academic environment. Stricter visa conditions could deter potential students from choosing the UK as their destination for higher education. For some, the fear of deportation could overshadow their desire to study, pushing them to seek alternatives in countries with less stringent immigration policies. The long-term impact on the UK's education system could be substantial, as international students may look elsewhere for opportunity. Another significant issue is the potential for increased mental strain on students who must navigate these harsher visa conditions. The added pressure to ensure their visa remains in perfect standing at all times could affect students' overall well-being and academic performance. Universities may also face the challenge of managing the immigration compliance of their international students, taking on a greater responsibility in monitoring student status. As the laws evolve, international students in the UK will have to adapt to these new stringent conditions, and it remains to be seen how these changes will reshape the landscape of higher education in the country. Number 2. The Deportation Without Papers policy. The Deportation Without Papers policy is set to affect a significant portion of undocumented immigrants in the UK. Under this policy, individuals who do not possess proper documentation can still face deportation, even if they've lived in the country for many years. For those without legal paperwork, this policy creates an enormous challenge, as they could be sent back to their country of origin without the ability to defend themselves or present their case. Many people in this situation may have integrated into UK society, built families, and found stable employment, yet still find themselves vulnerable to being removed under this new law. The lack of documentation could leave many individuals in an extremely precarious position, with no clear path to securing their stay in the UK. For families who have lived in the UK for a long time, the impact of this policy can be particularly devastating. Children born in the UK and who are legally British citizens might face the painful reality of being separated from their parents if the parents are deported due to lack of documentation. The policy doesn't take into account the years or even decades of contribution these undocumented immigrants have made to the economy and society. It forces a harsh choice between uprooting their families or facing the uncertainty of deportation. The social costs of breaking up families and potentially returning people to countries where they have no connections or means of survival are staggering. Furthermore, enforcement challenges arise with this policy, as many undocumented individuals may not be easily identifiable. The UK government will likely have to rely on an increase in surveillance and the use of technology to track down and deport individuals without proper papers. This could lead to potential injustices, with people who have lived in the UK for years being sent back to places they no longer consider home. The policy risks increasing racial profiling and could create fear among immigrant communities, even among those who are in the country legally but may be suspected of being undocumented. This shift in immigration policy represents a harsh, unforgiving approach to migration, making it harder for people to live freely and without fear. Number 1. The Deportation First Rule and its far-reaching impact. The Deportation First Rule is a radical shift in the UK's immigration law that significantly changes the deportation process. Under this rule, individuals facing deportation will no longer be able to rely on the automatic suspension of deportation while they appeal the decision. Instead, deportation will proceed before the individual has the chance to challenge the decision in court. This creates a critical disadvantage for those who may have a legitimate case to remain in the UK. Deportation can occur swiftly and without the possibility of stopping it, leaving individuals and families in unprecedented distress. The rule raises serious questions about the fairness of the process, particularly for individuals who may be wrongfully targeted or unable to mount a strong defence in time. One of the most concerning aspects of this law is the potential for individuals to be removed from the UK, even if they have family ties, established businesses, or long-standing employment. The removal will occur without considering these factors or allowing the affected person to fully present their case. Families that have built their lives in the UK could be separated abruptly if one member faces deportation under this rule. Children, in particular, may suffer emotional and psychological damage as their entire world is uprooted without notice. Legal challenges could be delayed, and families may be forced to endure extreme hardship, including losing their home and employment, all while facing the uncertainty of being relocated to a foreign country with no means of support. The impact on the justice system is also noteworthy. By prioritizing deportation over appeals, the rule undermines the foundational principle that individuals are innocent until proven guilty. In practice, this means that the UK immigration system could witness a dramatic increase in the number of individuals wrongfully deported due to rushed procedures or the lack of adequate time to resolve their case. The potential for legal errors increases, as courts may be overwhelmed with cases, making it harder for individuals to find a fair outcome in a timely manner. This change represents a fundamental shift in how the UK handles immigration cases, with grave consequences for both individuals and families. The UK's new immigration laws represent a dramatic shift in how the country will handle migrants, and it's clear the impact will be far-reaching. With millions potentially facing deportation, families being torn apart, and vulnerable communities at risk, these changes raise more questions than answers. Whether it's the Deportation First Rule, tougher student visa restrictions, or increased border surveillance, the effects on immigrants, businesses, and the wider UK population cannot be ignored. These laws go beyond just paperwork and processes. They deeply affect real lives, real families, and entire communities. As the UK moves toward these tougher measures, the consequences are only beginning to unfold. Will these laws provide better control over immigration or create more harm than good? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, the new reality is about to get much more complicated for millions. Do you agree with the changes, or do you think they'll cause more harm than good? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you. If you want to dive deeper into similar topics, check out our previous video where we explore the impacts of immigration on global economies. We put a lot of effort into these videos, and your support means the world to us. Subscribe now. It's just one click, and it helps us bring you even more insightful content.